Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us at the Electric Violin Shop. We are today going to be talking about different income streams for violinists. We all love playing music. Playing music is fun. But what is really awesome is if you can make a living at it, or at least make part of your living at it. So we have brought in a panel of superstar musicians, and we're just gonna go straight to these guys. I'm excited to have you guys here. Why don't you go around kind of quickly and introduce yourself? Enion, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Enion Pelta-tiller. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I'm an extended range acoustic violinist. That is, I play 5 and 6 string acoustic instruments. I haven't found the electric instrument that's quite right for me, but Matt, I'm going to come visit you and figure it out at some point. And I I live multiple income streams. I teach a high school for the arts, Denver School of the Arts. I teach University of Colorado, Denver. I have a private studio, and then I also teach workshops at colleges and universities in the area and other places around the country. I'm also an arranger, so I've done string arrangements for full orchestras, including the Colorado Symphony, of music by bands that come and play with them, and done lots of string arranging for people's albums. And generally, when I do that for recordings, I play all the parts myself on my various weird violins. And then I'm also a songwriter and composer, so I tour and perform with my own band, playing my music. And I've probably forgotten a couple of things, but I make my entire living from playing or teaching violin in some very kind of brick and mortar ways.
Awesome. Lucia, you're in New York at the moment, but generally in the
Yes,
UK, right?
exactly. I'm Lucia La Rezza. I'm based in UK. I'm originally Italian, so I first lived my life eating good food, and then I decided to go to a place where the food it's just a tiny bit less tasty, but that's not a problem. Uh, I work as a performing violinist. I have a solo show with video games music. I am a session violinist for metal and rock bands. I also record and arrange violin parts for film and video games composers, also for bands. And I actually am a video game composer.
Fantastic. That's a growing field too, right?
Absolutely, yes, especially since lockdown. There has been a huge boom on that side. And also in the, let's say, in the amount of money that they actually have in the industry.
Fantastic. And Taylor.
I'm Taylor Davis. I have a YouTube channel and I'm mainly a recording artist, I would say. Besides that, I have dabbled in a lot of different income streams. Some have, produced more than others, I would say. And I've been fortunate enough to try touring my own live show. So I did a whole round of performances, not so much to make a living. Maybe if there's questions about that later, I can answer any of that for the kind of touring that I did at least. But yeah, I would say mainly as a recording artist is where I've been able to make the majority of my income. A lot of people assume it's my YouTube videos, but it is not. And I would say besides that, sheet music and merchandise, like a lot of other smaller income streams. So I've been very fortunate to try out a lot of different things. And I'm the kind of person who enjoys kind of having variety in my life. So I'm really grateful that I've been able to do those different things.
Awesome. Yeah, and then we've got Ezinma Ramsey is going to be joining us in a minute. She texted me, just said that she's clearing airport security at the moment, and she'll be on the air in a second. But one question I was going to ask, and just any of you guys, what have you sort of seen as the changing landscape over the last sort of 5 years? I guess pre-COVID, COVID, and maybe we're considered post-COVID now. And how have you adapted your income streams in sort of those three, I guess, eras that all happened in the last 5 years?
I would
So
say,
before, oh, sorry.
please.
Thank you. Uh, Before COVID, my main stream of income was actually performing live outside of my room, and during actually the lockdown and COVID, etc., it was quite difficult to perform outside of your house. So I started going online. I started discovering websites that help you to find more clients, like Fiverr.com, for example, or Upwork. And thanks to those websites, I could create actually a set of clients that helped me to actually continue with music. But it was quite difficult to have this kind of change, because obviously I needed to improve all of my home studio setup. I had to improve my recording skills, my mixing skills as well, because you need even to know, you also need to know how to handle the sound of your violin when you send your violin tracks to a composer or to a band. So yeah, I would say that for me, the change was to work way more from home than actually with performances. And that actually continued, because I decided to start to compone for video games. And this made my work actually way more stable in the house than by traveling and for concerts. I don't know if it's this, probably it's the same for the others here.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same for me. I was primarily a touring musician, and I did teach some, and often, like while on the road, I would teach. At that point, Skype, because Zoom wasn't really a thing yet, and yeah, everything shifted during COVID. So like my entire teaching business went online and became much larger um, during that time, because a lot of people who weren't able to study with me just because of location were able to now study with me, because I had the setup going and kind of got good at it. It seems like, and this is just speaking from being an observer, not something that I'm doing, but it seems like the kind of like performances and income streams from things like um, TikTok and maybe YouTube as well have grown in that time, because people started living their lives more and seeking entertainment more online. But I don't know. I think you all would be able to speak to that better than I can. But it looks that way from out here.
I would say for me, not a whole lot changed with my day to day, because I was used to being at home, and especially so because my first child was 6 months old when lockdown happened. And so we were kind of already at home a lot more anyway than we had been with having an infant. And then I also had, oh, I also had,
Hi.
hey, another kid during like the whole pandemic too. So I feel like mine's maybe a little bit skewed, because we are kind of in that bubble of having newborns and things like that. But I would say, like, because of the lockdowns, I feel like a lot more people got online, and people who maybe had other jobs at the time and just weren't maybe as busy with those jobs, and they started becoming content creators. And so I personally saw a lot more people just creating content, which was really cool to see. But I also feel like that made it a little bit harder for people who were working as content creators at the time. I felt like myself, and I noticed like a lot of friends and other people in the industry saw dips in their numbers overall, just because there are so many more people now doing it. And I think that the pandemic kind of allowed for more people to maybe explore that. So that was kind of my experience with it.
Hey, Ezinma, how's it going?
Hey, nice to see you, Matt.
Yeah,
Hi,
thanks for
everyone.
joining us. You're in the airport right now, huh? Headed out?
Yeah, I'm headed to DC right now. So I'm at
Awesome.
LAX.
Oh, okay. Well, if you could just sort of introduce yourself to the audience here, and we've been talking about sort of what our experience was, sort of pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID as far as finding income streams in music.
Yeah. So hi, everyone. My name is Ezinma. I'm a violinist. And, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm very passionate about branding and monetization because I think as classically trained musicians, that's seldom a part of the curriculum is like what happens after conservatory or school. So for me, COVID was a huge wake up call. Even though I just kind of took a jab at music school, I ended up going back to music school and I went to Berkeley and got my master's in film scoring. And that has ended up providing a revenue stream that is very pandemic resistant. I think for me, because so much of my income comes from live performance, um, unfortunately, streaming is a too small of a pie of that income, but that's a separate conversation, right? Um, I I feel that I am just, as I've seen the changes that have happened, I know I just jumped on, but we were talking about social media and how, to put an entire brand in the hands of what can be a rather fickle algorithm, that's a huge risk. And I think as musicians, it's about how to fortify what we do with as many different things as possible. So during the pandemic, I actually launched an online course to teach people how to play violin. So they can go to my website and buy this course. And that's, a passive way to just, you know, and very scalable, right? It's a great way to have income when you're not performing. Another great thing is brand partnerships, working with string companies or rosin companies, or it could be industry focused, or it could be things that are not industry focused, but just more lifestyle elements. And I think to anybody watching, my biggest advice is sitting down and getting really clear about what is your brand and what is your brand identity and what sets you apart from everyone else. Because at the end of the day, there are a million violinists in the world who are better than me. But it's not about that. It's about finding a niche and finding a way to really sell and reach a demographic that maybe isn't being reached. So for me, that was choosing hip hop with classical music. I found there was a bit of a hole in that, and it allowed me to make something that was very sticky and very marketable. And, I think the best entrepreneurs, which is what we are at the end of the day, we know how to pivot. And I think for everybody here, keeping an eye on what's happening, doing your market research, and always trying to stay as ahead of the game as possible. I say this as someone who's still very slow to be on TikTok, but I think it's a constant balance of how to stay relevant, but also how to stay true to who you are as well.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think Taylor, you've been on social media for quite a while and had some really huge numbers of followers on social media. And I think people assume, oh, you've got 2 million subscribers, you must be rich. And you're like, yeah, so it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
What was sort of your journey to figure out how to monetize some of this fan base that you'd grown?
Mm. So yeah, as you said, I've been on here for a long time. I think, oh gosh, I can't, it might be 13 years on YouTube. Oh gosh, in a couple weeks or something. So I feel like a YouTube dinosaur at this point, but it's definitely not something that I started really thinking it could turn into a living. And so I started it, I think I was young, I think 22 at the time, 23 maybe. And it was one of those things where I was just trying to find a way to keep music in my life after graduating college because I had a business job and I wasn't really planning on trying to pursue music ever as a career because I had always been told that it would be nearly impossible. And I never felt like I was good enough or had the drive to try and pursue any sort of, position in an orchestra or anything like that. I did grow up classically trained and played in youth orchestras and enjoyed that for the most part, but it just wasn't where I was the most passionate. And so I really started my YouTube channel back when people weren't really able to monetize it. And it was just kind of a way for me to play the kind of music I was the most excited about, keep music in my life. And it just kind of grew very gradually. And I was able to take the risk to quit my day job at the time once I saw a certain amount of growth because I was living at my parents rent free. And so all my early videos were just, recorded with really cheap gear in a spare bedroom at their house. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I really don't like my day job and I need to find a way to make money with this if I'm going to actually try.
Oop.
Oh no.
Oops.
We lost Taylor. It's so sad. She'll be back.
Oh,
I believe in technology. Yeah, here she's back again. Look at that. That was so fast.
That's it.
And let's add her back on the screen. All right. We lost you, but we're glad
Sorry,
you're
it
back.
just dropped me. Sorry about that. Yeah, it just kind of dropped there. So anyway, yeah, I just was trying to figure out if there was a way to make a living doing this. And so I thought my best chance would be to create an album, create a product. And at the time, video game music wasn't very popular on YouTube. And that's what I grew up with. I actually was made fun of and bullied for liking video games when I was a kid. So it was really funny to me that my career turned out to be kind of, focused around that for a specific time. And so I was really just trying to do the music that I was the most passionate about, and it was very underserved at the time. So I was able to stand out in that niche. And thankfully, ever since I released my first album, I've made enough through either it was album sales at the time, both digitally and physically, and that's now changed over to streaming. So that's where the majority of my income comes from. And it's because I've just recorded a large catalog of music over the years. And again, I was very fortunate. I was one of the first people to create covers of a lot of these songs that a lot of people were still searching for. I was trying to be very strategic, both from the standpoint of, okay, maybe something popular is coming out that I can kind of release something around, or maybe this one's going to be like one of my evergreen songs because it's a classic everyone's always searching for. So I tried to do a lot of research behind it, but a lot of it too were just my personal favorites from growing up, because I definitely am a huge nerd and love video games besides just loving the music from them and film music and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how my whole career with YouTube came about. But I didn't make any money with YouTube for probably the first 4 years I was posting on there, because it was such like the Wild West early on with copyright, and I never monetized any of my videos. Like the tools, Content ID, all those things weren't in place at the time that I started. And so that's why I was like, I got to make something on the side here with the albums. But then to this day, my YouTube income, I think people would probably, I don't want to complain about it because it still is very nice passive income, but it's not the majority of my income, and it never has been. And when I ran the numbers over the years to kind of just add up, okay, what have I actually put into my YouTube channel with all of the different videos I did, the travel and paying professionals and all that kind of stuff, it took, probably it was like 8 years before it was even profitable or something, because I was putting so much money into my channel. And when you were able to monetize those videos, then you're still sharing in the monetization 40% with YouTube. That's just the flat rate that everyone does. And then it's very kind of ambiguous as to what percentage is going to the publishers. If you're doing cover songs, it's kind of anywhere between 15 and 25%. So at the end of the day, there's not actually a whole lot left from a lot of those cover song videos for the artist who's doing them. So yeah, that's kind of been like my main platform for exposure, and I'm very grateful for all that. But it's certainly not something where I, have even made it close to like $1 million with my YouTube channel, even though I have millions of views. So I think that's something that a lot of people probably have a misconception about. They either are surprised that I can make any money with it, or they think that I'm like a multimillionaire because of it. And it's definitely, somewhere in the middle there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know, Ezinma, you've got a huge social media following as well. And I think you've done a good job of leveraging that into live music performances and leveraging that into sales of other things. But as you know, a 500,000 followers on Instagram doesn't exactly pay the rent every month, right?
It definitely doesn't. Um, yeah, I think just to echo your amazing story as well in terms of YouTube and how millions of followers doesn't translate into millions of dollars. I don't know, maybe a merch idea right there. That could be a T-shirt. Millions of dollars doesn't mean millions of dollars. Anyway, I think it's all about leveraging, right? At the end of the day, I think what matters to me is legacy and what I've done as an artist. And social media is simply a tool to achieve that. I don't think. Can you also hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Sorry, just I lost you all of your squares. I wasn't sure if you went away. But no, I think it's all about just leveraging into whatever is most accessible. For me, I have a very small YouTube following. I think of like, I don't know, 40,000 followers or whatever. And I've made no money on YouTube. My covers on Instagram haven't made any money because they're just on Instagram, and that's not really a place where you monetize. But I have gotten tons of brand deals, right? I have gotten incredible partnerships with brands like Lexus and Google and Pantene and Chase. And so it's one of those things where I think the social media outlet is just a means to an end. And to me, that end is, financial security, but also I want to leave a legacy as an artist and put out a body of work that can, continue to be synced and streamed and, performed by other players and stuff like that. So I think my goal has never been like, let me build as big of a following as possible. My goal has always been, how do I use what I have to keep growing and keep leveraging? Because I also don't want to keep posting for the rest of my life. Like I want to do other things. And so that's sort of been my approach.
Awesome. Enion, you're teaching at the college level, which is a little bit different approach than some of the other guests here are doing. Can you talk about what the path is into that for you and how that meshes with being an artist and a singer and a songwriter and a performer and a private teacher as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the ways I've ended up doing that is that I have unusual specialties. A lot of people that teach at the college level, especially at a place like um, Denver, University of Colorado, Denver, are teaching. I mean, most music at investment schools, excluding places like Berkeley, CalArts, ECU, and Tennessee, South Plains. Most music departments focus on classical music. Maybe some have a variety of types of music I've spent a lot of time digging into and getting proficient at and understanding the history and culture of, which include both jazz and bluegrass and also Appalachian old time music. And so coming from the classical pedagogical background, knowing like how stuff is taught in that world, and then having these specialties, now a lot of universities are looking at kind of diversifying what they offer and expanding the scope of music that they regard as valid. I guess you could put it that way. So having the specialties has allowed me to get in, even though I didn't finish my bachelor's in music, my performance degree. I bowed out after a couple of years because my interests, just like you've talked about, Taylor, like I wanted to do the music I was passionate about, and these so-called eclectic styles are things that I'm passionate about. And now it so happens that there's a place for me to teach them at both University of Colorado, Denver. For a while, I was teaching through Naropa University too, but their music department they don't have a music major anymore. But that is something that I just do one day a week. I go in, I have my students there. I also teach a songwriting class there. So again, being able to have multiple things that I offer And that actually ends up being about a quarter of my income each month, what I get from teaching at the university. And it's just I'm just a lecturer there. It's kind of like an adjunct position, but it works great with my schedule because I have the rest of the week for my other teaching activities, which is another day that I spend doing that, and then the rest of the time I can focus on my performing ambitions, both with my own music and then freelance work, because I play with a lot of different groups around here. Again, offering different specialties. I play with all kinds of bands around here, and so yeah, that's more or less how it works. I'd say if you want to make teaching part of your income stream, making sure that it doesn't take up all of your time if you have other creative ambitions. Like back right when I got out of college, I had an office job, and I had this idea that I could have the office job and then follow my musical ambitions on the weekends and in the evenings. And since I was working essentially 9 to 5, it just didn't work. I was too exhausted emotionally. Teaching is even more exhausting, I'd say, because you give so much of yourself to each student. So making sure that if you have these multiple ambitions, as I have, of both teaching, which I love, and being a performer or being a composer, being an arranger, that you divide your time intelligently and make sure that you're not giving too much energy to something that's going to take a lot out of you, and allowing enough energy for things that really excite you. That's all. I don't, but just making sure, I have 2 days a week I teach, and the rest of my time is for other things, which might not be quite as large a portion of my income, but they feed my soul in much deeper ways.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. So we had a question coming in. Is it worth it to try to contact with some major labels to distribute my covers or originals, or is it more relevant to grow independently? Add an Ezinma back here. Is it more relevant to try to grow independently on regular distribution? And then what cost should I expect promoting my first cover and video on it? Those of you who have done pretty extensive like cover recording and production, what are your thoughts on how to get things distributed and all that sort of thing?
I personally would answer that first you need to grow your channels before even being selected or to think about contacting a label. I personally worked with an independent label, and when they were contacted by any kind of artist, they first, I know it's bad to say, but they first checked the numbers on social media, unfortunately, because from then they can actually tell if your personality or your brand can go with them. So if you are starting up just now, I would say do it completely independently and try to find your niche, as loads of wonderful violinists did here actually in this call. And it's very important to first have your niche and then think about contacting the right label that can be also in your kind of branding. So I would say search for independent distributor, like there is DistroKid, there is so many others, and they also have services for covering also the royalties that you will give to the composer of the song that you want to cover. And also on YouTube, you can totally, as some of us are already doing, publish any kind of cover, as long as you are not monetizing it totally for yourself without specifying the composer of the song. Obviously, you always need to credit whoever worked in the song and the performers, in case you have other performers in the song. So yeah, I would say first do it by yourself, create your audience, and then I suggest to contact a label in the moment you already created a little brand of yourself. What do you guys think about it?
I think that's really good advice. I would just say also from my experience, I've never worked with a record label. I've always just been independent, and I've really enjoyed having that freedom. I know that there's definitely pros and cons for what I wanted to do with my career. I didn't feel like I needed to go with a major record label. I'm kind of just happy keeping things like to myself and doing my own thing from home. But I know if you have maybe like some bigger ambitions outside of that, then a label could be great. I know some friends who are with labels and they've had good experiences. So it just really depends on what your goals are. But in the other part of that question about how much you should spend promoting it, that's something that for me, I've always just organically promoted my music. I've never paid for ads to my music. I've used Facebook ads for promoting my online educational course, but never for my music. And I personally don't think it's a great idea to try and spend money to promote for things like Spotify to get streams, because like the actual money that you make per stream is so sad compared to, you know, what you'd be spending on advertising.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't think, to do that. So I personally am a fan of using, you know, your own organic traffic, which Lucia is saying, you know, building your own audience first can help you do that. So that's just my opinion.
Everyone, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm in the lounge and the Wi-Fi is bad, but I have to run to my flight. So thank you so much for having me, and I learned a lot from all of you. And thanks, Matt.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you, Ezinma.
much.
Thanks for joining us. We
All
knew
right.
we wouldn't
Thank
have you for
you.
long, but thanks for popping in.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, somebody had asked too about the question, without spending a whole lot of money, what are the recommended basics to marketing and distribution? I think we've kind of covered that. Anybody want to add anything else?
There will be so much to say.
Taylor, I know that you have been selling your sheet music and stuff online. Can you talk about what sort of the process is for getting licenses for that, the stuff that's not your original material, and how would one go about maybe getting into distribution of their arrangements of songs?
Sure. So that was a tricky one for me because I had so many requests early on when I was releasing YouTube videos, and everyone was like, can I get the sheet music? And for a lot of my arrangements, I was just making things up by ear. So I didn't actually have sheet music. And also the licensing is just really difficult. It's a different kind of license. Like print licensing is different from mechanical licensing for actually like selling your own cover of the song. Of the audio, I mean. So it was something that I wasn't able to do until much later in my career. I was approached by the company Music Notes, I think in 2018, and they help facilitate the licensing process. So basically, you're allowed to give your arrangements to them, and they'll put them on their platform only. It's not something that you can sell from your own website then. And you share in that revenue. They take care of handling, paying the copyright holders. So it's all on the up and up. But it's a very small amount of money that you as the artist are left with at the end of the day when everyone else has gotten their cut of things. And then I also have sheet music books with the publisher Hal Leonard. And that was something I work with a multi-channel network. They're called MCNs on YouTube. And my manager there was able to kind of introduce me to someone over there, and we were able to get those sheet music books put together. Again, that's something that I have to buy for a certain amount from them, and then I can sell those on my own website. So I like that part of it, because with all of my income streams and what I've learned over the years is that as much as I can try to keep on my own website is more beneficial to me, because I can't control what's going on with the distribution companies or with YouTube, or if there's a major change somewhere that can drastically impact my income. Whereas if I'm, building my own email list or trying to get people to come to my store and I have products there, then hopefully, if they come to the store, maybe they'll get not only a sheet music book, but maybe, they find something else there that they like. Whereas if I'm trying to send them to a website like Music Notes, or something like that, then that's still at the end of the day somebody else's platform, and they're not going to, other than buying more of my arrangements, they're not going to, maybe continue to come back or get on my email list or be reminded to, revisit some of my things. So that's one of those things for me where it's a very nice side source of income, but it's not significant in my overall earnings. But it's something that I'm more than anything just happy to be able to offer to people who've been wanting to play my arrangements, because I hear so often that people are just really excited to be able to take that to their lesson as like a fun piece to practice along with maybe some of their other classical music or scales or things like that. And so more than anything, that's not, like a big money maker for me. It's just more like I'm happy to be able to legally let people get those if they want to and have fun with them.
Awesome. We had the question, what's the question you wish you would have asked when you were starting out? Maybe it's the question you wish you'd had an answer to when you first started out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of questions I wish I had the answer to now. All right, if that doesn't, that's fine. Here's another question. What has kept you from burnout? And that's a big one. Is that because when you're working for yourself, you got the toughest boss in history, right?
Yeah. I would personally say actually starting to go to the gym and go to have nice walks around parks, nature, trying to be let's say to entering in the mindfulness, start reading books about how to stay calm helps a lot. Also, there are some very good apps like Calm for meditation, etc. Because unfortunately, when you deal with freelancing, you deal with anxiety, you deal with the fear of not arriving to the end of the month, because it's something that we know. There are high highs and low lows in the freelancing experience, and unless you have I would say trustable stream of incomes, it's kind of difficult to have a regular kind of income. So it's very important to believe in yourself and find strategies to help your brain to believe in yourself, even in difficult moments, even when your bank account is very close to zero. It's very important, especially if you don't have the help of family or any other kind of help. You really need to deal with a lot, let's say. So it's important to find your personal strategy. For me, meditation sometimes can help a lot. Sometimes meditation actually gives me way more anxiety than it should. So it depends on the moment, I would say. It's really important to change the I would say the strategy every time, and also to believe in the fact that if you work for so long, and if there are so many people that is working with music, it is actually possible to do it. So we need to ignore the pressure of society that we have.
Yeah, that's a great answer. In fact, the questioner said, "Oh my God, I was wondering if other musicians felt that anxiety." In my experience, if there's a type of anxiety, we're all feeling it. Musicians are very, very emotional people. That's why we're in this business. course, you guys are all supremely confident, way more confident than me.
I wish. I wish if my partner could actually talk in this, he would unveil so many anxiety attacks and stuff. But I bet that everyone in this conversation would have so many things unveiled if their partners or the people that supports them could talk. Confident is a big word. We fake it until we make it, probably.
For sure. I know each one of you guys have some online offerings. I think, and I think you do, right?
Yeah, probably not to the same extent, but yeah, my music is definitely out there, both with my band Tarka and definitely arranging stuff that I've done is you can hear on multiple albums, and yeah, but no, I don't have any cover videos out yet.
Well, I want to give you an opportunity, each one of you. I want to give an opportunity to plug your any of the stuff that you've got online that people could be a customer of yours. So, yes, give yourself a little commercial here, Enion.
All right. Well, the primary vehicle for has been for the last many years a band called Tarka, Taarka. And so with that group, I am on Spotify, all the streaming platforms. We have a website, tarka.com, and we're active on the Facebook and Instagram. Nothing else really. I am about to. This will be a few months from now, but I'm about to release an album of swing and jazz arrangements for both string quartet and then some more traditional sort of hot jazz style music all on the same record. And in conjunction with that, I'll be finally having my own website, which I haven't had. As because Tarka is, it's my band with my husband, so that's been it. But now I'm going to be out there as EnionPelta-tiller.com or something like that, and you'll be able to hear that music. And I'll also be selling those arrangements of like Django Reinhardt tunes. There's Horace Silver on there, some swing classics. So, and as well as some original stuff. So that's something to keep an eye out for if you like that sort of music.
Awesome. Taylor, yeah, you said that you had an online course that you've launched, right?
Yeah, we've had it out for a few years now. It's called Musician of All Trades, and it used to be one big program, and we kind of revamped it last year. I should say, just like made it smaller, I guess. We took it from being this gigantic one course that you could buy to smaller courses. So it's all like the same content plus more. But it's just in like smaller packages now, more specific for like audio recording and production. I have like a branding and content course, releasing your music. So there's like a lot of different offerings. It was basically something that I made because I got a lot of questions about how I've been able to build this online business as a musician. And so it's basically the answer to all of those questions. And it's kind of all of the things that I would have loved to have known when I was just starting out with all of this. So the one that I'm kind of mostly focusing on right now, though, is my audio recording and production course, because I'm starting to share a lot more of that kind of content on my YouTube channel. It's something I haven't really done a good job of talking about, but I'm kind of just as passionate about music production, like making my own tracks and all that kind of stuff, as I am the violin. And so that's something that I've been doing this entire time, but I just haven't really shared that. I just have been sharing the actual product as opposed to the process. And so I'm starting to share more of that, especially because I feel like it's kind of exciting as a woman, because I know that I think female producers only make up like less than 5% of the overall industry. So it's such a small percentage. And so I'm kind of excited to put myself out there a little bit more. in that space, just for, you know, maybe some other women who are looking for some female inspiration. Not that the men can't be great inspiration as well, but I think that's going to be pretty fun. So that's a lot of the content that I'm going to be releasing on my YouTube channel in the future will be focused in that direction. And then besides that, I have all my same stuff, like the music. I think I have like 12 different albums, can all be found on all the major platforms. Lots of sheet music, both at Music Notes and then my own website. I also offer my original sheet music there. And I'm going to be working finally on a new original album this year. I've already started. I have a couple songs made and I hope to release it later this fall. So I'm really excited about that because that's really like what I'm the most excited about working on right now. So that's kind of what's going on with me.
Awesome. And remind people, oh, here's Volt. Remind people what your website is, Taylor, where to find you.
You can find everything from TaylorDavisViolin.com.
Awesome. Excellent. Volt, how's it going?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Sorry, it's the middle of the
Hold on.
night where you live.
Hold on. Can you hear me? I cannot hear anyone.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Cannot hear everyone.
Uh-oh. Hopefully he can figure that out here pretty soon. And yes, Lucia, I was going to ask you, can you share what your where people can find your stuff and what your website is?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, but mainly on Instagram and Twitter in these times. And you can find me typing my name and surname, Lucia La Rezza. I
Something wrong with
really
my
wish
system.
that it's clear
Can you-
how to
can
write.
you- can you
I'm
hear
very
me?
bad at spelling, so yes, we can hear you.
Hear me?
No, we cannot.
Well, I cannot hear you guys. This is interesting. Wait, what's going on?
Oops, I have myself muted. I'm terrible. I got too many buttons here. Can you hear
Oh
us,
my
Volt?
God.
We can hear you.
No, cannot hear anyone.
Still don't have you.
How
No.
about
Well,
now?
we have you.
No.
You don't have us. All right. So I got so many things happening right now. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. I guess we're gonna have to catch up with Volt at another time. Any other sort of parting thoughts as you guys are headed out about income streams, maybe where to look for income streams, that sort of thing?
I just wanted to thank you so much for inviting us and for letting me meet in a call Taylor, one of my muses of my entire life. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. So nice meeting you too.
So much for having us. I think, I don't know, one thing that I'm gathering from hearing everybody talk today, and I certainly find this to be true for myself, is follow what you're excited about, and then you will find a way to make that into an income stream. That's what I've always done, is just followed the things in music that excited me most, the activities in music that excited me most, and that's how I make my living. And it seems like all of you are the same in that. So yeah, go for it. Believe what you have to offer is beautiful and valuable, and you're gonna be all right.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, people are asking on Facebook. I'm going to put everybody's links and stuff in the Facebook comments section, and I'll do the same thing on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us, and this has been a lot of fun. It's always a privilege to talk to y'all, and hopefully we'll see each of you soon right here in the shop. Come visit and try all these violins.
Yes.
All right.
Very soon. Hopefully.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody, and we will see you next week.